All right, so move on to the next segment. I'll be predicting who Gervonta Tank Davis will be fighting next in his boxing career. So Tank Davis has stated that he is currently getting his life back on track and plans to be back in the ring in early of 2024 as I get tongue tied. But I do believe that this is good for Gervonta Tank Davis. Take the rest of the year off. You were successful defeating Hector Luis Garcia earlier in the year. You were successful defeating Ryan Garcia, winning both of those fights to come away of knockout. I do believe that he has been through a lot in the calendar year 2023. He went to jail this summer, got out of jail. There was some things that were going on out in his life while he was in jail. He had some people break into his house. There were some things going on in his personal life. So I give Gervonta Tank Davis a lot of credit for stepping away from the sport of boxing right now and getting his personal life together to set up for a return in the early part of 2024. So I'm proud of him. I hope he stays out of trouble because you guys know, if you follow the podcast, I love me some Gervonta Tank Davis. Currently one of my favorite boxers to follow in the sport of boxing. So hopefully he gets his life back in order. Hopefully he gets back on track. And hopefully he comes back to delivering knockouts that we all love to see in the sport of boxing and throughout all combat sports. So I'm rooting for Gervonta Davis to get it together. And I'm rooting for his return in 2024. But Coach Calvin Ford, the coach of Gervonta Tank Davis, has stated on the Rise podcast, and I quote, "Something is about to come down the paint. They trying to seal the deal." So that means that there's a big fight for Gervonta Tank Davis down the line in 2024. And it could be set up for his potential return to the ring. Something big. And this right here means that when Gervonta Tank Davis returns to the ring in 2024, this makes me feel better knowing that we could potentially not see a rematch between Gervonta Davis and Isaac Cruz, because we all know that's a waste of time. We all know that Gervonta Davis should be fighting better competition. We all know that Isaac Cruz has earned absolutely nothing to earn a rematch against Gervonta Tank Davis. So why even entertain the rematch? And at that, Gervonta Davis would have most likely knocked out Isaac Cruz if he did not break his hand during that fight, and he outboxed Isaac Cruz in the fourth quarter of that fight with one hand, winning that fight by unanimous decision. So anybody out there watching, listening, thinks that's a good rematch, it's not. And it's a waste of time for Gervonta Davis. It's a waste of time for Isaac Cruz. It's a waste of time for all boxing fans across the world, knowing that there should be there's better fights out there for Gervonta Davis. To not worry about Isaac Cruz anymore. So with that being said, I will be predicting Gervonta Davis's next opponents. Option A, Frank Martin. I do believe that Frank Martin is a possibility for Gervonta Davis to fight next. Frank Martin is currently 18-0 and is currently an undefeated boxer, one of the best boxers in the lightweight division today. Now, Tank's team has done well matching Gervonta Tank Davis against undefeated fighters lately. You look at his resume over his last several fights, he's defeated several undefeated fighters at the time, defeating Mario Barrios, defeating Rolly Romero, defeating Hector Luis Garcia, and Ryan Garcia. At the time, all of those names that I just mentioned were undefeated boxers, and Gervonta Tank Davis beat all of them. So they know that putting Gervonta Tank Davis against undefeated fighters, he does his thing, and his resume speaks for itself that he's building, that he's defeated those guys that were undefeated fighters at the time. So I do believe that Frank Martin is currently an option. He's currently free after pulling out against a fight with Shakur Stevenson for a vacated WBC title. Gervonta Tank Davis and Frank Martin are both with the PBC family. I do believe that this is an easy fight to make since both fighters are on the same streets in terms of boxing companies. I do believe that this is an easy fight to make, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is Gervonta Tank Davis' return. Option B, William Zepeda. William Zepeda is currently 29-0 with 25 knockouts to his resume. William Zepeda is one of the best boxers, one of the best fighters in the lightweight division, and has the boxing skills to make a fight with Gervonta Tank Davis very interesting. He's a good fighter. He's very legitimate. He has knockout power. He has great boxing skills. And currently, William Zepeda is signed with Golden Boy Promotions, ran by Oscar De La Hoya. You know, Oscar De La Hoya is chopping at the bit to get some type of revenge against Gervonta Tank Davis after his boy Ryan Garcia was knocked out in the 7th round in that mega fight that took place in the early part of 2023. So I wouldn't be surprised if this fight happens. I do believe that's a money fight to be made. Oscar De La Hoya has already done business with the PBC. He's already done business with Gervonta Davis. I wouldn't be surprised if we get Gervonta Davis versus William Zepeda in the early part of 2024. But with that being said, option C, and I do believe this one could be a real possibility for Gervonta Tank Davis's return. Option C is a wild card, and option C is Gary Antoine Russell. Gary Antoine Russell is currently 17-0. He has 17 knockouts to his resume. Gary Antoine Russell currently fights at 140 pounds, but he said on several occasions throughout several interviews that he would be fine moving down to 135 pounds to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, both fighters, I do believe that this fight would be absolutely amazing. Both fighters are both southpaw fighters. Both fighters have knockout power. Both fighters are knockout artists. And both fighters are from the DMV area. So I do believe if a fight between Gary Antoine Russell and Gervonta Davis took place, it could sell out any arena nearby in the DMV area, selling out the Capital One area arena, the Washington Wizards Stadium. It could sell out in a fight at the Baltimore arena, in Baltimore. I can see this fight happening in the early part of January or February of 2024. So that is my fight predictions of who Gervonta Tank Davis will fight next in the sport of boxing when he returns in 2024.